meet again, my friends. We meet again. That's what they get for pooping on my car.
What's up, Patriots? It's October 29th. It's been a while. I'm going to see if I still remember how to do all this. I think it's been like 3 weeks since I last did a live stream here. And that's the longest break I've taken in the last 2.5 years of not doing a live stream. So we're going to give it a whirl. There's a lot to talk about right now. And man, things are just happening so fast that it's hard to digest everything that's happening so far. But lately, well, where should we start here? Well, out of all the notes I've taken so far, it all started back when George Santos, the one of two House of Representatives that ever visited Freedom Corner. He was thrown in jail for 7 years or something, all over the fact that he put money into his account for his campaign, and but he didn't tell the people whose name he was putting the money in the account. So they went after this guy gangbusters and gave him like an 87-month sentence, man. And George, he's a character, man, but I got to give him credit. He's one of the two guys, him and Matt Gaetz were the only two House of Representatives that came and visited Freedom Corner. So, man, I got to give the guy credit. But anyways, so he reported to prison, stayed in prison for a week or two or 3 or 4 or whatever, and then Trump gave him pardon, man. Or Trump commuted his sentence. He didn't give him a pardon. And we've all learned the difference between a pardon and a commutation of a sentence there. So I'm just glad to hear that. Trump got on that. That was one of the things that he could do. Of course, he can't go and do that for Tina Peters. That's up to the state of Colorado. But Trump took away the Space Force Command Center from Colorado, and sooner or later they're going to learn their lesson over there in Colorado. Waiting for the Patriots to wake up in Colorado. That's for sure, man. There we go. All right, the chat just started working. What's up? Hi, Jane Febo. Hello there. And Carol Burton, Shirlene, USA. Can you see the watermark down there? I do got a watermark in there. And so, yeah, we're just going to hang out, chat. I got a bunch of memes for you. I don't know how to put them all together in a coherent way, but I'll put them together there. There's also another story going around. It last about 2 weeks ago that we know that our elections are a real problem in this country. They are totally riggable. And one of the ways that they do it is through the electronic voting machines. Some of those machines come from a company called Dominion Voting Machines. And I know anytime you mention Dominion, you're under threat of a lawsuit, so whatever. But apparently, Dominion Voting Machines was bought by a company called Liberty. And Liberty is supposedly owned by, it's an American-owned company now, and the guy who owns Liberty is a patriot. And it's like they're trying to tell us, oh, it's okay to use the machines now because a patriot owns the company. But don't buy it, patriots. Don't buy it 1 second. We got to get rid of the machines in our voting. You cannot vote electronically. That is totally hackable. And Trump has been pressing for one-day voting with paper ballots and no machines, man. And voter ID. And I think we're still pushing this idea. It's just not up in the forefront of everything lately, with as much as going on. But within the last 3 weeks, I've heard Trump mention it. I know Marjorie Taylor Greene put forth the Voters Act or whatever it's going to take for Congress to institute this is what we're hoping for. That's the only way that we are ever going to be able to trust our elections again. Well, not the only way. There is one other way, and that is to hold an emergency election, but I'm the only guy talking about that, you know. Hey, Barbara Pugliese, thank you for modding for me. Texas J. Jones, not that bogus Maryland J. Jones. How's it going, man? It's good to see you all. Good to see you all. So we got to get this voting taken care of, man, because out of all the stuff that Trump's doing, man, we got two major hangups that are still preventing progress in this country. And that is that we got these activist judges, our court systems are still rigged, and there's a whole plethora of problems underneath that one category, which is selective law enforcement, qualified immunity to cops and all that stuff. But that all falls under the banner of a corrupt legal system, a corrupt system of justice. And of course, we've been seeing that played out for 10 months now since Trump got elected. Everything he wants to do gets overturned by a judge, gets delayed a month or two or three. It does seem to be working its way through the courts a lot faster now. Whereas it doesn't take years to get a determination on this stuff. And a lot of them are going right up to the Supreme Court, and Trump is knocking them down at the Supreme Court. I mean, it's legal what he's doing. I'm sure he's spent a lot of time figuring that out. But that's one of the problems. And the other problem is our corrupt elections. There's no way that we can trust this system if we have an inkling that these elections are rigged. And I'd like to be able to trust our elections. I'd like to be able to trust our justice system, but they've broken all trust. We had an imposter president for 4 years. We had a guy who was supposedly the president of the United States that was not duly elected. That was a fraud election. Our Congress certified a fraudulent election in 2020, and I was hoping that would pan out at the Supreme Court with the Brunson versus Adams case. I don't know where that case stands now, and it could come back to give us some justice over the 2020 election. But for crying out loud, that was 5 years ago when that election was held, and then 4.5 years since the Congress certified a rigged election. Obviously rigged, man. There you go, Jay. Same day, paper ballots, U.S. citizen voter ID. All right, I still remember how to post a comment. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Right there. Same day, paper ballots, U.S. citizen voter ID. We're finding out now that in New York, 39% of the citizens in New York are foreign born. All right, 30% of the population of New York City is foreign born, and that has a lot to do with the rigged election of 2020. They brought in up to 20 million illegal immigrants into this country, and a lot of them, Texas was shipping them into New York. I mean, they would release these illegals in Texas. You guys were loading up buses at great expense and shipping them up to New York. So that's where they are, man. They're all, there's a bunch of them in New York. And now we got this Mondami guy who is a socialist, illegal. Well, he lied on his citizenship test. He says he wasn't a communist. And he's obviously a communist. He's running as a communist in New York City now. And it's looking like he's going to win. So we're going to have to let that pan out. And it's like the MAGA people are hoping Cuomo wins, Cuomo is directly responsible for the deaths of thousands of older folks who were in nursing homes at the time of the COVID, and his policies and belligerence kept a lot of those people from getting well and kept them isolated while they died. I mean, we can never forget this. That rigged election in 2020 cost America hundreds of thousands of lives. And I can't underestimate that statement. The COVID mandates, the vaccine mandates that came along with that, the fentanyl, the FJB fentanyl that was coming into this country for 4 years, unstopped. It was just a direct line into this country, killed hundreds of thousands of us, man. And I just think we forget about this stuff. Even when I'm watching other people talk about politics and stuff, we just can't forget that hundreds of thousands of us died because of that rigged election. And hundreds of thousands of children didn't get a proper education because they went to kindergarten with a mask on. They couldn't see the teacher's lips moving while they were learning how to talk. And it's just horrible. It is absolutely horrible. Here we are. God put us here in this time, in this age, so that we can stand up against that. And that's what we got to live with every day. The knowledge that hundreds of thousands, if not 1 million Americans died because of that rigged election and the policies of FJB and Cuomo and the needless prosecutions from all of that. Not only did they, all the deaths from the J6 people too, man. The negligent medical that they were getting in prison, the suicides that took place due to the J6 terror that was hanging over some people's heads. And I mean, I just can't forget the toll that it has taken on us, and that we got Jesus holding us up, man. I think we would have crumbled long ago were it not for salvation of Jesus and the fact that he loves us, and that even though we're sinners, we repented, we're following Jesus, we're learning about our Savior and God, that we'd be crushed by now. We would absolutely be crushed by now if it were not for that, man. Yeah, I'm ready for perp walks, man. I'm ready for perp walks. And it's starting to happen. It is happening, Patriots. The other day, I think Pam Bondi was mentioning the accomplishments, and Cash Patel has been mentioning the accomplishments of the prosecutions that the FBI and the DOJ has been doing so far. And yeah, we're not seeing perp walks, and I don't know why Comey didn't get a 6 a.m. SWAT team raid on his house for the charges that he's facing right now. But so far, they've arrested 3,200 cartel members here in America. And Trump has been calling this the ISIS of the Western Hemisphere. And I think that puts it into perspective for us. We're not talking Latin kings and the Bloods and the Crips anymore. We're talking the ISIS of the Western Hemisphere here. That these people have taken control of the Western Hemisphere. They busted 3,200 of them in 10 months. That's a lot of work right there. They've taken 91 tons of drugs off the streets that has been seized. That includes 58,000 kilos of cocaine. They have found 1,000 illegal guns and taken those off the streets. Kristi Noem was part of this press conference that I got that information from. And in that press conference, she mentioned that there have been 1 million drug deaths since the year 2000. So over the last 25 years, 1 million Americans have lost their lives due to drugs. And I don't believe that all that was on purpose. I think a lot of that was accidental, since the fentanyl can get added to anything. And the fact that drugs are illegal. You know, I mean, that adds a whole big black market gray area. Nobody's regulating anything. If you wanted to get drugs, you have to go to the black market to get it. I mean, there's better alternatives than that, but that was all part of the reason that 1 million people lost their lives due to drugs since the year 2000. So the FBI, the DOJ, Homeland Security has been very busy right now. And not only that, but we got a line on the Venezuelan cartel that's the government of Venezuela right now. And I think a lot of the investigations have been going into sourcing that. We are obliterating drug boats out in the oceans right now. We're not waiting until they get here to try to catch them. And we still got instigators within the government that are causing problems for Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi and Cash Patel and stuff. So there has been a couple of change-ups with ICE lately. I think a dozen or so top echelon leadership positions in ICE have been fired, and they took some Border Patrol guys and put them into the ICE divisions. So there's still that. We're still working with these entrenched Democrats in positions in our government, man. So, I mean, and dealing with all that at the same time in the last 10 months here. So Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, Trump team has got their hands full, yet they are producing results. In addition to, like, who's under indictments now? Comey, Brennan, Bolton. So far, they've all, I don't think Brennan's been charged yet, but John Bolton and James Comey have been charged now. Letitia James has been charged now. And we'll see where that leads. I don't believe that the charges against Letitia James right now are the only things she's going to get charged with. But for the meantime, she's going to be dealing with this mortgage fraud that she was actually pursuing against Trump, where she was actually guilty of the same thing. Projection 101. These people just, you can tell exactly what they're doing because they accuse you of doing it in the first place. And there's, you know, if you know your scriptures, there's scripture that says that, you know, the words that come out of your mouth is what's in your heart. So when you got people screaming at you, telling you you're a pedophile, it's like, okay, I know I'm not a pedophile, but you're screaming at me I'm a pedophile, like when we were down in D.C. I mean, these people are pedophiles, and that's why they scream at you, telling you you're a pedophile, you know. I can't remember there's multiple verses about that in the scriptures, that the words that come out of people's mouths is a projection on their heart, is what is in their heart, you know. And when I got that realization 15 years ago, things got very clear about when people are talking to you and they're saying things to you that they're just projecting. It's projection. That's what it is, man. All right, we got 2 J6 prosecutors put on leave. One that went after Tommy Tatum. Interesting, very interesting. That's at the Gateway Pundit. Okay, there was a shakeup too at the Pentagon. The Pentagon told all the people in the press corps at the Pentagon they got to leave. And then Hegseth put new people in the Pentagon, and our own Jen Baker is now a Pentagon correspondent for the Gateway Pundit, man. I wanted to throw that in there because Jen Baker is an outstanding patriot that was down there at Freedom Corner with us all the time. And she is now a Pentagon journalist correspondent for the Gateway Pundit. I can't wait to see what she's got. What's up, Sean? I see you in there. And I got some stuff I wanted to talk about with Sean, man. We wanted to get into that. Let's see. Sean was up there at a Pritzker Sucks rally about a week ago or two. And all of a sudden, this black this black Nissan Altima started driving around, passed them a couple times on the roadway out in front where they were waving flags, yelling, Pritzker sucks. This guy drove past them a couple times. Then the guy drove through the parking lot behind him once, yelling at him, giving him the finger. There was this guy here with his middle finger. He's showing his IQ. And he has the retard thumb sticking up because that's how they do it. You know, you can't just do a middle finger. You got to stick your thumb out like that. And that's his crazy banshee girlfriend there, trying to get us all on film, antagonizing us. So this kid whips through the parking lot behind these guys. He goes and drives a big loop around the parking lot. And then they come and he opens the door right into this guy's legs, one of the guys that was in Sean's group. And they get into a scuffle. Right here, this gentleman in the black hat here, he was standing outside this kid's door, and the kid opened up the door and smashed him in the legs. So he jumps out of the car and starts, running around, taking swings at people. The Banshee grabs a hammer. You can see a hammer in her hand right there. See if we can zoom in on that somehow. I don't know. Can you see it there? She's got a hammer in her hand. So she grabbed a deadly weapon before she jumped out of her car. She ended up swinging that hammer and hitting this man in the head in the black jacket. And everybody was just, in total chaos there. Oh, here we got a better picture of her. All right, hold on. Now I got to get rid of the watermark in order to flip through pictures here. Here we go. Here's a good shot of her in action. She's in action right here. She's ready. She's got that hammer back. She's going to hit somebody with that hammer. We had a bunch of people at this rally. They weren't causing any troubles. They weren't threatening anybody. They were just there to show their distaste for Governor Pritzker of Illinois. Yeah, the cops did come, Barbara. We'll get to that part in the story. In the background there, you can see there was even a TV crew there. And I don't know how this got covered on local news in Chicago, but there was an official newscaster there. So there she is. Here's a close-up of Doofus in his car. There he is, the violent left. Or I don't know what he is. I don't even know if this guy votes. I don't know if the Banshee actually votes there. But, they were there to cause violence. They were there with a violent mind, ready to take on people who were supporting America and America First policies. And there to support MAGA. Here we go. Here's right where the kid smashes the old guy in the face. They are definitely going at it. The news crew totally was not on the scene. They didn't know that was happening, even though Sean warned him that, hey, we got people here in the crowd that are not part of us. And I don't know if that newscaster did catch anything. Sean, I don't know. Did you ever see anything, Sean, on the news there in Chicago where this got broadcast there? Hiya, Ann. Good to see you. Hi, Carrie. Yeah, we're live streaming again here, man. I thought I forgot how to do it. Here we go. Here's the kids squaring up. No respect for his elders. No respect for differing of opinions. No respect for peace and First Amendment. This kid wants to just get violent. And he's got his girlfriend with a hammer in her hand ready to back him up, man. Totally violent left, man. Totally violent left. Okay, we already did that picture there. There we go. There she is with the hammer. Ready to smack Sean, it looks like here. You've seen them before, Carrie. Yeah, they was on Sean's channel. Sean's been talking about this. Okay, so now the police were called, and there were charges applied, and it's not an easy process. So now we got like 5 people from the Pritzker Sucks rally that are witnesses of this. They got film. They got 3 different films of it, man. And the charges are pressed. But now these 5 people from the Pritzker Sucks rally and Sean are required to go down to a courthouse yesterday for whatever reason. I don't know why a judge or the attorney or the DA or the prosecuting attorney, whoever, however this whole system works. 5 of the patriots that were there that day had to go down, sit in a courtroom, and hang out there for basically 5 hours on a Tuesday. You know, people got jobs. But if you want to see justice now you are required to go down to the courthouse. You got to watch their silly display of the pomp and the circumstance of justice, the wheels of justice turning. And I don't know why the judge couldn't just get these 2 people in the courtroom with their attorney, look at the video and go, hey, you attacked people. We're going to press charges. So according to Sean now, these people have not been charged with attack with a deadly weapon. The guy in the dark jacket here did get hit in the head. He got hit right in the temple of the head. 2 weeks later, he still has a ringing headache. And so this was not just a sucker punch or anything, man. This chick swung a hammer at the guy, hit him in the temple, in the head. She wasn't aiming for anything else. She was trying to hit him in the head with a hammer. And now the Patriots got to go through all this. You know, the day it happened, they all had to go down to the police station and pick pictures out of a lineup. And they make it so that they don't tell you everything, you know. They show Sean a lineup of people with 6 different people in it. And Sean goes, yeah, number 5, that's the guy. Then Sean walks out of the room, and the next guy walks into the room, looks at 6 different pictures and goes, yeah, number 2, that's the guy who did it. So then that guy walks out of there, talks to Sean and goes, yeah, I thought number 2 was it. And Sean goes, no, I thought number 5 was it. So now you don't even know if you guys all picked the same picture or not, but they definitely switch the numbers up on the pictures. They make it very, very confusing. And yeah, and it's all on film. I mean, the whole thing is on film, start to finish. I was watching it while it happened, man. Yeah, it does seem like they're making up their own laws today. So I don't know. It goes on. I'm still waiting to hear the result of every. Whoa, holy smokes. We're all zoomed in on there. So, you know, here's what the Patriots got to go through before he actually confronted the people there. And it is a total pain in the ass. If you want to see justice, happen against violent criminals, you have to now walk the walk. You got to go sit in the courthouse for 5 hours. You got to call your job and say, I can't be there because I got attacked on Saturday from these violent thugs. And now I got to make sure justice happens. It's, you can't just do a video testimony or anything. You got to actually be there. And there's something wrong with that. I don't know exactly what, but there is something wrong with that now that Sean and these 4 other Patriots are going to have to take time out of their schedules and their jobs, away from their families, go through the continued turmoil? Will justice be served? Or are we going to go through all this bullshit and not have justice served? They're going to let them go. They're going to, give them probation or something, man. But this is a violent crime. This was obviously a violent crime. This is why we have jails. This is why we have justice, so that you put violent people in jail where they belong. And I hope justice is served. I don't think their headache is over. I don't think the old guy's headache is over yet either, man. He still needs medical attention. He's still having ringing headaches, So he had to go to the doctor. He had to have a CAT scan or whatever. The doctor's just trying to figure out what's wrong with him. Well, he got hit in the head with a hammer, duh. And he's going to have to deal with that, So that's where we are. So there's 1 million of us dead from drugs. There are hundreds of thousands have died from the COVID. We just keep having to put up with this. And then we got people saying that the violence is on both sides. And I'm not buying that one bit, man, because our guys didn't attack these people. We haven't attacked other people. And we're not assassinating Democrats. We're not plotting to kill people who we disagree with. And yeah, that is wrong. That is wrong, Jay, right. It would seem that all that was needed from the witnesses was a written statement, but everybody's different. Every jurisdiction is different, man. They just got so much. It could be so much better, is what I'm trying to say. It could be so much better. So that's that. Good luck, Sean. I hope you guys can get through this and see to it that justice is served, man. Violent people should serve some time. I don't even know if this is their first arrest. They could be repeat offenders. I don't know, man. I don't know. It looks like a racial crime too. I mean, it looked like, some brown people attacking white people. You could throw that in on it. I don't know what was up there, what was in their craw. Why these two kids decided that they need to jump out of the car and attack people. Whatever it is, that ain't us. That ain't what we do. We don't see a Biden or Kamala supporter out there and think, I got to jump out of the car and hit him with a hammer, right? So anyway, good luck with that, Sean. Sean got it all on film, and so did another lady, and apparently there's a security camera on the whole thing. But what a mess. What a mess. A freaking mess, man. It could be so much better than that. Another thing that has happened a couple of weeks ago, the Russian released the files that they had on JFK's assassination. Representative Anna Paulina Luna was in charge of the release of those records. That was released, and lo and behold, Russia thinks that LBJ had a big hand in killing John F. Kennedy back in 62 or 63, was it? I can't remember what year it was. So we got that out there. Plus, we have released all of our files on JFK, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, RFK Jr.'s father, who was also assassinated back in the 60s, man. And we're finding out that our CIA had a big hand in all of those executions, all of those assassinations. The CIA, that our taxes fund their operations, and they had a hand in that. Information's coming out also on the 9/11, man. The CIA was totally monitoring these guys that supposedly took over jets and flew them into buildings around here. John Brennan was directly involved with giving a couple of those Saudis that got pilot licenses here in America at an American flight school. Brennan was the guy who signed off on their passports because they couldn't normally get a passport here because they were Saudi terrorists, right? But John Brennan waived the rules, allowed their passports to be given to them, valid, so they could come to the country, so that the CIA could monitor them, so that they could keep an eye on what the terrorists were doing, you know. Well, great work, CIA. You let that happen, and now almost 3,000 people died because of that one, man. It's just over and over. We got to just sit back and watch this all happen. And this is all stuff that we knew about. I mean, people knew the CIA killed Kennedy in the 1970s. But for 50 years, we had to live with that knowledge and just go, oh, I guess they got away with it, right? Oh, I guess thing, you know, where we got, I don't know, we got 4 different high-ranking politicians here in America that had kids that worked at the Ukrainian gas company. I gotta meme that. No, not that one. What are the odds? What are the odds of 4 people all having children working for Ukrainian gas companies? John Kerry's kid worked there. Mitt Romney's kid worked there. Nancy Pelosi's kid worked there. FJB's kid, Hunter, worked there. What are the odds, you know? Yeah, Priscilla, yeah, what a shit show. Yeah, we got lockups, Priscilla. We got 3,200 cartel members arrested, 91 tons of drugs off the streets. They found, I don't know, 100 kids now, missing kids. Trump at one of his press conferences said that there's a lot of these kids are dead, but there was 300,000 missing children. There's another couple 100,000 dead. We're not going to find all these children because of what happened. All right, now we got January 6th. They, arrested 1,600 people in America, threw them in jail for protesting a rigged election, man. But this J6 committee, they destroyed exculpatory evidence. They inserted fictitious audio into J6 videos. This is all stuff that happened to the J6ers while they were going through their court trials in Washington, D.C. They avoided key witnesses like the chief of police, Stephen Sund, chief of Capitol Police, the guy who was in charge that day. The J6 committee never even questioned that guy. They removed Republicans from the committee. Then they televised the hearings on primetime to influence the public. I mean, when you go back and when we were watching that while it was happening, we saw that they were all reading off of a monitor. We all know that they hired a producer to put the whole thing together. Well, now we got the House Judiciary, GOP, is investigating all this. These are all investigations that are happening that I am fully expecting to see perp walks, arrests, and prison sentences come out of all that. Not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And now, what have they turned into? The party of free stuff. And that's what people are saying, man. John Fetterman is out there saying it. Tulsi Gabbard says it. The Democrat Party took a hard left and left them all in the dust, man. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the same thing when he was nominated to be a part of Trump's cabinet, when he endorsed Trump to run. That's what he said. The The Democrat Party left him. He didn't leave the Democrat Party. Who else is saying that now? Fetterman, Cuomo. Cuomo's out there saying the same thing now. They're not bold enough to dump the party, but they're just trying to bring their party around. And we'll see how long that lasts. We'll see how long they can try to change the Democrat Party back to something resembling reason, but I doubt it, man. So another thing that's happened is this whole redistricting thing. We had a Supreme Court ruling where they determined that this gerrymandering in the districts was done via racial profiling. They were creating new areas that would then get a representative in the House of Representatives due to race. No other reason than race. They said, well, not enough brown people live in this area, so the brown people don't get any representation. So what they did is they cut up new districts that had all brown people in it. And there was no other reason to do that than race. That is called racism. That is not American whatsoever. Yet for 40 years, the Republicans sat on their hands while the Democrats cut up the country into different gerrymandered districts for representation in the government, man. So the Supreme Court finally said that's unconstitutional. We're gonna lose a lot of the zones again. You know, they're gonna take away the gerrymandering and turn it into more sensible areas. That makes more sense. I mean, when you looked at a map of these gerrymandered areas, they didn't make any sense whatsoever. The rural areas were separated from the urban areas, and that's why we saw a surge of Democrats getting elected. One of the reasons that we saw Democrats getting elected over the last 40 years, man. For 40 years, the Republicans were not fighting back on that, man. Wow, yeah, Jack Smith, too. Right, Jay. Jack Smith was definitely involved with Liz Cheney in the J6 committee. The J6 committee investigation was the prelude to Jack Smith charging President Trump with insurrection. It was all coordinated from the White House, too. But Jack Smith was definitely part of that operation with the J6 committee. All that information's coming out now. That's information that we could guess at before, but now it's verified. So we'll see where that leads to. But then, after the Supreme Court ruling, we had certain areas of the country, Republican areas of the country, that were not going to redistrict. They said, okay, the Supreme Court says it's due to racial profiling, but we're just going to leave it as it is. Indiana was one of these areas. And who's from Indiana? Mike Pence. Mike Pence's old state. He used to be the governor of Indiana before he was Trump's vice president. The Republicans in their state government in Indiana weren't going to do anything about it. And then there was somewhat of an outrage. A bunch of phone calls were made. Once again, the phone call warriors made that happen because they have now addressed the new redistricting endeavor in Indiana. And there was other areas of the country. But this is these Republicans. They won't work unless you make them, unless you light a fire under their chair and make them jump and get to work and do stuff for us, we the people that voted them in, man. No, I have not been in the military. Shiva Rajput. But welcome to the channel. This is a MAGA, Trump, and Jesus channel. That's it in a nutshell, man. We are Bible-believing, saved by Jesus patriots in America, and we are 100% MAGA, 100% behind President Donald J. Trump, and have been from the beginning. Trump has been giving press conferences, cabinet meetings. This is the most transparent administration I have ever seen in my life. Trump is out there every single day doing 1, 2, 3, sometimes even 4 press conferences in one day. He's giving press conferences on Air Force One while he's flying from one press conference to the next one. This man is totally transparent about what he's doing. There is no shady stuff going on with this administration like there has been for every administration I've ever seen in my life, including Reagan and Bush's. And I mean, this Trump is just putting them all to shame, man. All kinds of stuff happened because Republicans did nothing the whole time. So Trump right now, like when I last did a stream, I think Trump was in Saudi Arabia, right? Talking to all the Arabs out there, bringing in money, bringing in investments into this country, hundreds of billions of dollars. So now Trump is over in Asia, in Japan, and now he's in Korea, I think today. I could be wrong on that. He's in Korea or Vietnam or one of them countries over there, generating billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of investment for America again. And just making sure reciprocal tariffs are in operation. We are done with getting tariffed by countries that we don't tariff. Like Japan has been allowed to sell cars in America for decades here now. And we didn't really put much of a tariff on their cars. It might have been very small tariffs, like a 2 or 3%, I think, is what we were charging Japan. But Japan was charging us huge tariffs to sell American cars in Japan. So it all makes sense to just make it reciprocal, man. If you're going to charge us 50% tariff to sell an American car in Japan, then we're going to charge 50% tariff to sell a Japanese car in America. It just makes sense. I remember having this conversation back when Bill Clinton was the president, when he was trying to float the NAFTA trade deal. And believe it or not, he ended up passing the NAFTA program, North American Free Trade Act, which basically screwed Americans over in the whole game with the tariffs and stuff. Trump overturned that. That was like on day one of his first administration. Glory to God, he got rid of NAFTA. So now Trump is renegotiating trade to every single country on the planet right now. And as he goes to negotiate trade, he wants some type of a tribute back to America in the form of investments. And I do know that he just got $500 billion worth of investments out of Japan. When he was over there meeting Japan, he was talking to Mr. Toyota and Mr. Nissan and Mr. All the Japanese CEOs of the giant companies that have made killings selling product in America. And Toyota committed to $10 billion of investments, and all these other companies committed to a total of $500 billion worth of investments from Japan, finally, to America. So this is money. It's not here now. They're not giving us $500 billion. But what Trump is doing is he's allowing the Japanese investors to come over to America and reinvigorate our steel industry here. Because the Americans have been put out of business by our government and the Wall Street people. They decommissioned all our steel plants and started making all that steel in Japan. And then Japan was selling us shitty steel for like 50 years. That came out in Trump's first administration also. Japan was forging the quality documents of the steel that they were selling in America, So it's like, okay, Japan. And Trump is the kind of guy, the art of the deal. Okay, you were screwing us. We caught you. You're not going to screw us anymore. But let's talk business now. What are we going to do now? Now, you're going to come and invest into our steel industry You can own the company. You won't have to pay tariffs on all the steel. But Japanese people own our steel plant now. It's in America. It's employing Americans. It's making steel for America. But Japanese people are in charge of it. So it's better than what we had, right? If the Wall Street people, if the elites, the real rich people in America had any sense of pride in their country, they would be the ones investing their money into the American steel industry. But at the same time, our government, I think the reason a lot of these companies weren't investing in our steel industry was because the government was against them. There is all kinds of regulations, and you got the smelt. You can't put this in the creek behind the factory, and we want clean air, and we want clean water, clean land, and we just want prosperity in America. But there's been all this push from our government to be DEI, to be environmental, and it really put handcuffs on a lot of the operations for businesses here in America. We can still have clean water, we can still have clean air, we can still not be poisoning people, and we don't need all the regulations that have been put in there because it was junk, man. All it did was drive business out of this country. And it is so refreshing to see a sense of rationality out of the leadership in the Trump team, man. And really, the only place I'm seeing that rationality is Trump's cabinet. I'm not seeing that rationality out of Congress yet. I'm not seeing it out of my state government yet. I'm not seeing it out of my local government yet. But at least from the top, Trump and his cabinet are producing results for America. And it is long overdue and very refreshing to see that this is happening. All right, so now we got this immigration thing. They are rounding up, ICE is rounding up people, deporting them, and we got all the liberals screaming they need due process. These people that aren't even citizens in America, who entered our country illegally, these people are demanding due process for these people. And the Democrats shut the country down because we were not going to fund the continuing resolution for the budget, didn't include the $1.5 trillion it takes to fund the medical benefits for the illegals that we gave them too, It's because Congress didn't pass a budget. They can't come together to pass a budget. So all they do to kick the can down the road so they don't have to shut the government down, they do these continuing resolutions, which is junk. That means these people are not running our country properly. They should all be removed from Congress, in my opinion. But we allow it to continue because they'll pass a continuing resolution to just fund it at the normal levels, which requires them to borrow $1.5 trillion to fund the illegal Medicaid program and the illegal food program and all this stuff. They have to borrow that money to do that because we don't have that money. We're $38 trillion in debt in this country, and they need to borrow the money. So in order to do this, they've been in this process of continuing resolutions for the last 20 years now. And I don't know that they've ever really, have they passed a budget in the last 15 years? Or has it been continuing resolutions forever, So that's why the government is shut down right now. Because the Republicans finally said, we're not doing that. We are not funding medical benefits for illegal aliens that are here illegally. The criminals in this country. That's it. So finally, it's good to see that the Republicans have drawn a line there. But the reason we're in this predicament now is because the Republicans couldn't get a budget passed. And right now, they're just burning time. Trump's got 4 years, and we saw what happened the first 4 years of Trump's first presidency, where he had a majority in the House, a majority in the Senate until midterms, and that got taken away. And they just dragged their feet, and they didn't get much done. And once again, we see that happening. Trump cabinet is getting lots of stuff done, tons of stuff done. But right now, Mike Johnson said it himself today in a press conference, there are more important things that they should be doing right now that they're not doing, because we're in this continuing resolution fight. We're in this wet paper bag that we can't get ourselves out of because the Democrats shut the government down, you know. And it's another problem created by them in order to get nothing done for Trump, for us, for the people, the 77 million people that voted for Trump. We want results. And right now, the Republican Party, the GOP, is not producing results for the Trump administration because they're stuck in this very tough wet paper bag with the Democrats, man. All right, and then I have not been watching the Portland circus, man. I'm sorry. I've been checking in on it with what's going on at these ICE facilities in Portland and Chicago, and checking in on it every once in a while, but I can't watch that stupidity anymore. The protesters, the Antifa, are dressing up in like inflatable costumes now, and the stupidity, like when I went out on that, just thinking about how to verbalize this to you guys makes my brain just not work anymore. It short circuits because it makes absolutely no sense. When I went out on that bridge with those libtards the other day, I couldn't even talk after that. They just suck every intellectual thought out of my head because I'm just spinning. I'm buffering, trying to think, how does this all make sense? You know, that what they're talking about doesn't make any sense. They're here protesting this in a freaking inflatable alligator costume or whatever, you know. So Portland looks like they won, though. All right, so that's a good thing. All right, Priscilla. They started a freedom corner in Portland, and so far they won, man. I guess the fascist protesters in Portland were living there on the street, and finally the protesters for Trump started outnumbering them and demanded that the Portland Police Department do something about it. And they did, and that was like 2 days ago now, so we'll see how that pans out for them. I think a similar thing happened in Chicago, too, up at the Broadview ICE facility in Chicago. But this is costing the country a lot of money. It's delaying. It's a delay tactic. ICE cannot operate in a fluid manner. The reason that they have to have these facilities is because the local governments in Chicago and Portland are not allowed to come into a courtroom or go into the jail when an illegal gets arrested for a crime other than coming into the country illegally. They get arrested for whatever, assaults, murders, robberies. They're thrown in jail, but that jail will not allow ICE to come in and take custody of that guy. Yeah, when I saw a huge frog riding a bicycle, I thought I was drunk. That is kind of what it feels like, Jay. I feel like I just don't know how to react to that level of retardness, because it is. It's I just can't explain it. I don't know how we're going to explain this era to our kids, man. We're going to say, like, people in inflatable costumes shut the country down, you know? That's where we're at right now. And it's all because Congress is in a really tough wet paper bag and they won't make any laws. They won't pass a Voter Rights Act. They won't reverse the Smith Modernization Act. So we're all allowed to get propagandized by the mainstream media still. I mean, all these things that Congress could be doing right now that they haven't done up till now. And it remains to be seen if they will do any of this. All these solutions that could be happening right now are not happening because they're in a really tough wet paper bag right now. It's silly. It is absolutely silly. So Trump's been having these task force meetings. He had all the live streamer, the social media guys come into the White House. He had Nick Shirley there, Nick Sortor, Andy No, all these streamers that came in there, and it was telling Trump and Bondi and Cash Patel about Antifa. Who is Antifa? What are they? Do they have membership cards? And I think Antifa is a lot like MAGA. I mean, I don't have a card that says I'm MAGA. I'm MAGA because of the way I vote, right? Well, they're Antifa because of the way they vote, you know? They're not in an organization, but there is money behind the Antifa, and that's what they're trying to trace down. Who is buying the inflatable costumes for these people? Who is buying the Hot Pockets for them while they're protesting for 150 days out in Portland in the rain, you know? Who's buying their umbrellas and gas masks and goggles so that they can survive tear gas spraying and mace and stuff like that? Who's buying all that stuff for them, right? MAGA, we're all self-funded, basically. We're not self-funded, but I don't know. It's not like there's a group that we apply to get money so that we can continue to be MAGA, you know. And then they got the protest of the week, the No Kings, the Tesla, and then they recycle the ones that work. Like No Kings came around again. And it's funny, like 2 weeks ago, they were protesting No Kings. And this week they're protesting, give us our check, give us our SNAP money back. So the SNAP money, that's the thing. So now that the government's shut down, things are starting to catch up, right? There are actually people that are working for free right now. The air traffic controllers are working for free right now. They are continuing to come to their jobs, but they are not getting paychecks. I think in the past, when continuing resolutions, when they shut down the government, people have worked for free, but they ended up getting back pay, once the government did start up again. But right now, a lot of programs are ceasing to write checks, and SNAP program is one of them. That's a program where people get vouchers for food and stuff. But it turns out there's 42, all right, and all this has to do with an exposure of what's really going on in this government. There's 42 million people in America receiving SNAP payments. And I'm just like shocked. I'm like, what? 42 million people in America need help feeding themselves because they don't have enough money. Now that should be a statement on the condition of your country, right? We should be making legislation and laws and things to facilitate that number to come down. But then you find out that 59% of that 42 million people are illegals. The illegals are getting SNAP checks also. So that's all shocking stuff that I don't think your average American knew about a month ago, right? Now we're finding out 42 million people are on SNAP programs. Now we're finding out that over half of them are illegal aliens taking our money, buying food with it, or doing whatever with it. I don't know if they're buying food with it. They're probably buying the Louis Vuitton bags or making a BMW payment with it. I don't know. And then all these other numbers come out with the 39% of New York City is foreign born. I mean, it doesn't seem like any American is going to have a chance in an election in New York City. And we do know that the illegals can vote in local elections. And we got the ballroom. There's a whole nother fiasco that's going on. Trump's ballroom. Now, when he started talking about this ballroom, I saw him hold up a picture and said, we're just going to remove the front of this building, of the East Wing, and we're going to build the ballroom onto the front, right? Well, the next thing you know, the whole freaking East Wing is missing, okay? They tore the whole East Wing down all the way up to the White House, man, which I thought, whoa, that's crazy. And then I saw a picture of the ballroom, and it is spectacular. It's all self-funded. No taxpayers are going to be paying anything for the ballroom. And it is something that we need here in America. It was like Osama bin Laden when you came to a White House dinner, you know, out in a tent on the backyard. That is embarrassing. That was embarrassing. So we do need something like this ballroom. And I think it's a good thing that it's getting built. But man, I did not realize how much that is going to be totally replacing the East Wing. And this is what, you know, this is what the libtards think we're building there. They think we're building, Trump said the military's involved with it, and that that's why it costs $300 million. I mean, we just found out that Jerome Powell is doing a remodel at the Treasury that was $3 billion. And they didn't bat an eye, you know. But now we're finding out this ballroom, and it's pretty expensive. It's $300 million. And they're going nuts. They think we're building the Death Star there. And then they're like, well, we should build something more for the Native Americans. So that we went through this. We're gonna do the Elizabeth Warren ballroom. This is what that would look like. Or maybe that's the tent that they used to have the balls in out there. I don't know. Yeah, Gene, I heard there is a bunker there. There was a bunker there. And there probably will be a restored bunker there. And that is why the military and whatnot are involved with that. All right, 24 years after 9/11, New York City wants a Muslim to be the mayor. Let that sink in. That is just ridiculous. That we had Muslim terrorists. Supposedly, the official story is Muslim terrorists bombed the towers. That's the official story. And it was Osama bin Laden from a cave over in Afghanistan somewhere. He's pulling the strings. He sends over these guys to learn how to fly. And now they're going to be electing a Muslim mayor in New York City. So how does that happen, Patriots? How does that happen? I think one of the reasons why it happens is because of propaganda, for one, where people don't find out the truth about things. Of course, that's legal. That's legal in America now to have propaganda because of the Smith Modernization Act. I don't know, it's just a crazy world. It's a crazy freaking world. Yeah, right, the wildebeest, they stole the the furniture and the silverware when they left the White House. And now they're all pissed because Trump wants to build a nice room on the White House, man. I don't know. It's just crazy. It is totally crazy. Mandami is promising everything free, like Maduro in Venezuela. You just gotta know that ain't gonna work, right? I mean, here's one of them things. What do you say to a person that's going in and voting Mandami? Yeah, Mandami's the man. He's the guy we need. We need Mandami in there to make everything free. I mean, it's going to last a week, and then the shelves are going to empty out, and then that's it. That's it. I heard there's a lot of people leaving New York right now, but I don't know. I heard there's a lot of really, really rich people moving to New York right now because they know that they're going to be the elite in a socialist government, man. So they want to be there, right? They want to be the ones that control the slaves. So I think there should be a bunker like that at the White House, right? We're just going to keep on trumping. That's what we got to do, Patriots. We got to just keep on trumping. Oh, Priscilla was sitting around wondering about something the other night. Whatever happened to the gold bars? That's right. Remember that for the Fort Knox? What's in Fort Knox? That was back when Doge was checking into everything. Whatever happened to Doge? I think Congress had something to do with shutting Doge down, didn't they? We did get rid of the U.S. aid, and that, I think, was somewhat of a nuclear attack on their funding. Oh, here's another one with the why not go all out? Let's just build the Trump ballroom and casino next to the White House. So I don't know, Priscilla. I don't know what happened to the gold talk and stuff. Is the gold there? Remember, we were all there. But that's these psyops have been just like real thick, man. They get us talking about who even knows? Who even knows if any of that's true? I think we'll find out, though. All right. I do not want to forget about Irina Zarutska. She was a gal, a Russian immigrant, that got murdered on that subway train down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and a scientist who discovered a new species of butterfly has named it after Irina Zarutska to ensure that she is never forgotten. We can never forget this, man. Here's another dead American because of the rotating door at the courthouses in America right now. Her killer was arrested 17 times and for some reason was out on the streets, man. So the butterfly is called Irina's Azure. I think that was really cool. Not only was she beautiful, Barbara, but she was everything America is. Like we are a country of immigrants here, you know? But she came the right way for the right reasons. And was functioning. You know, she wasn't taking SNAP payments. She was working a job. And they're doing the same thing here to a kid. Oh, man, we had a cop that pulled a gun out on this kid who was riding his motorcycle. And he got away with it. But now the cops, again, they staked him out, caught him again doing something else because they went to where he works and they staked it out, waited for him to come around. And I'm just thinking, why are you harassing this kid who's working and just, he has a job. Go after the people who are just leeches on society, man. Yeah, she was riding the subway going home from work. And that's the problem with law enforcement, man. I mean, we got some serious issues with law enforcement in this country. I don't know if you guys look at my posts section on my channel here, but I've been posting some stuff that isn't too glamorous about the police. I got a big problem with that. All right, let's just remember that today is another glorious day that Kamala Harris is not the president. I think we can I get an amen on that? How close did we come, America? How close? Let's just all remember that up until 1913, Americans kept all of their earnings. There was no income tax. There was no federal income tax prior to 1913. Despite all this, America still had schools and roads, colleges, vast railroads, subways, and an army and a navy. So tell me why, again, taxes are necessary. Amen. All right, I got an amen. Thank you. Right on, Barbara. Yeah, my great-grandparents are the ones who immigrated here. I remember my grandma talking to my great-grandma in Polish. You know, like, what is that language they're talking? But they wouldn't talk, you know, they spoke English when us kids were around. That was only when I was in bed laying there and I could hear them talking out there. They would speak Polish. I would love to go to Poland and see what now. I heard it's just gorgeous there. And they got their heads screwed on straight there. And we got to remember, hopefully, the world is changing. And we are on the transition team. Italy, too. Yeah, Barbara. We've got some big issues in this country. So on top of all the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who have died through the government's policies here, we got this whole thing with the kids, man. Any parent or doctor who sterilizes a child before they are a consenting adult should go to prison for life. Yet they're not. Yet we have some of the greatest medical institutions in this country that have been practicing this. Just because it was facilitated by our government, man. Oh, remember to change your clocks back on the 2nd. Okay. Remember to vote on the 3rd. Yeah, I agree too, Jay. And Dolan. Hey, Dolan. What's up, man? Good to see you. This is a travesty that's happening here, you know. So is abortion. So it just goes on and on. There's millions and millions of dead Americans. All because of the policies of this government, man. It gets more and more hideous the more you think about it. And the brainwashed would still claim the Great Reset is a conspiracy theory. But Klaus smacks him in the face with his book, The Great Reset, where he says everything about COVID-19. The Great Reset is the name of his book. This is all stuff that we have known for years, Patriots, but we're just stuck in this cycle of trying to explain it to dumb people so that we can have our government get back to sensibilities here. The other day, Hillary Clinton was complaining about the travesty of ripping down the east wing of the White House. She was very concerned about Trump's activities at the White House. I mean, this is one thing that we're going to have to somehow explain to our children, what Bill Clinton was doing with Monica Lewinsky. You know, like we actually got to do that. But we got to do that. Did you ever notice that Democrats never post anything pro-Democrat? It's always just anti-Trump. They really got nothing. But Patriots, we cannot get into this mindset where we're just going to steamroll them in the next election. We have to learn from the too big to rig lessons that we learned. The lessons that we learned with 4 years of an FJB administration. We can never rest on our laurels against these people. If we do, thousands will die. Yeah, Jay, Epstein had a picture of Bill in a dress on the wall. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we all know what that means, man. He's got a picture of George Bush, George Jr. playing with Jenga towers and paper airplanes, too. Picture says 1,000 words, right? And I don't know. It might not be too late. It might not be too late. I think that would be something else, man. Just to put a big Trump tower next to the White House like that. I think that would be awesome. All right, let's give a shout out to We the People MAGA. They are still active in D.C. there with Jen Baker and Suzanne Monk. Tom Jeffries has been coming down there. And they are still letting people know that there are still J6ers that have not received their pardons. There are still J6ers in prison that, for whatever reason, man, and it gets really confusing, because there's only like 6 of them that are still in jail, but there's a dozen of them that haven't been pardoned. They've had a commutation of their sentence. But because of that, they're not getting their military pensions, military benefits. So Rebecca and crew and Helena there too. These are all Freedom Corner warriors that are in the area that are still standing up against the regime, man. We still need justice for the J6ers. We need reparations for the J6ers, actually, too. Because that whole ordeal caused a lot of the J6ers, a lot of the patriots that risked a lot to stand up for country, more than they ever knew that they were risking at the time. They've lost their homes. They've lost their jobs. They've lost their spouses. And they are just trying to pick up the pieces, you know. Here we go, Jay. There's a good link there. See if I can post that. Thursday afternoons, Rebecca's doing this with the people right outside the White House there. So I got to give them credit for standing up, man. It's a beautiful thing. This is how we do it. And we got RFK revamping the Food and Drug Administration. And hopefully one day we're going to get back to this, where pharmacy is spelled with an F and your food is your medicine, just like whoever said that, Plato or one of them old Greek philosophers told us, let food be your medicine. Yeah, right, Priscilla. Tina Peters. She's not a J6er. She told the truth. She showed us the fraud. And she's still sitting in prison. My heart goes out to Tina Peters. I'm just honored to have been able to stand shoulder to shoulder with them out on the Freedom Corner, man. What an amazing group of patriots. What an amazing family we've got here, too, right? So I think we've done enough here. We got almost on an hour and a half. I got a Charlie Kirk clip that I'd like to play. And it's becoming evident to me what a beautiful gift Charlie Kirk gave us with these interviews that he was doing with college students on campuses throughout America in the years prior to his assassination. He stood for the gospel of Christ, and he stood for America. And there is so much contention that is purposely stirred up over his assassination. We just got to give this Charlie Kirk trial of this clown on the roof time to work through the courts. I'm not going to make comments whether or not Cash Patel is doing his job or not, but there's a lot of seemingly right-wing MAGA people that are, inserting wedges into the MAGA group here by bringing up contentions about it. Candace Owens is one of them, man. And I'll tell you what, I haven't watched Candace Owens before this, and I'm not going to watch her now after this because she's pissing me off. She is doing nothing but making conversations between MAGA patriots right now. She is doing nothing to unify our group, and I just got to ignore her. I can't shut her down. I'm not going to start making shows about, how much I hate Candace Owens. I don't hate Candace Owens, right? But I just think she's barking up the wrong tree. I wish she was attacking Elizabeth Warren as much as she's attacking, MAGA people and things like that. And there's a couple other things that are the same thing is happening, only different. The Charlie Kirk thing. Let's not create dissension amongst Trump's team here. We just got to go with it. I'm sure they're going to put together a prosecution for this kid. If there is more than just him involved, which I think there is, I think that's all going to come out in the court trials and stuff. So, but I just hate seeing these wedges being driven into the MAGA patriots, the Make America Great, America First, and we do want to see justice served. It was a horrible thing that happened to Charlie Kirk and his, to his family and to the TPUSA group. But I think they're going to carry the torch. He started something great, and I think we can continue on with that. And we have all these gems, man. There have been Charlie Kirk videos I've been watching. I didn't watch Charlie Kirk before he got assassinated, you know. He was just another guy. He put together the TPUSA thing. He was integral in helping Trump get to the young voters out there. I think he did a great job, but I wasn't a young voter, you know. I'm an old guy, so I wasn't watching the Charlie Kirk stuff. But now there is a lot of really good stuff coming out. So I think I'm going to close with a clip from a Charlie Kirk thing that really hit me. It was a gal talking about an abortion that she had, and how the medical profession wasn't totally upfront with her about her pregnancy and stuff. And I think it's just a good thing to see. I think Charlie Kirk left us all these gems now, and they are going to be timeless videos, knowing what he had to go through, that we're going to have forever. You know, we're going to have these clips of Charlie speaking to these young people forever, man. Right on, Barbara. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me and chatting and going over what's going on in this country, trying to make sense of it all. And we just got to stay united, patriots. No dissension. Let's attack our enemies, not each other. I think that's a good idea, kind of common sense. But I don't see a lot of people following that common sense anymore. So hopefully we'll get our act together. Hopefully Congress will fight their way out of that paper bag and start producing some legislation, start producing some laws that we can straighten out this country, start impeaching some of these judges and get our elections cleared up. And I think once we get those two things taken care of, things are going to go a lot more smoother in the future. All right, so God bless you, patriots. Let me find this video. And we'll just close it out with that. God bless you, patriots. This is Jericho, over and out.
I was 23, I got pregnant, wasn't planned, and I decided I was going to do the right thing. At 18 weeks, I found out that my amniotic sac tore and attached to my baby's spine. It was pulling her spine out and filling her brain with fluid, and the doctor said, there's no other option. I did induce labor and I gave birth. When I started getting bills, the doctor said, well, your life wasn't actually at risk of death in that moment. And so the pain that abortion caused me, I stayed in an abusive relationship for a year. I allowed a man to beat me because I felt so little about myself. I drank, I used drugs, and if it hadn't been for Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, I don't know where I
would be. Amen.
You are healed and forgiven.
Yeah.
And one day you'll meet that little one in heaven. Do you believe that the medical industry lied to you?
Absolutely. So giving birth to her, I was holding this little child. I mean, she was a baby. She had hands and nails, and I mean, she was a life. And I knew, I was like, well, I had no right to take her life. And I felt like I was put in a position to choose that.
What is your advice for women that are being lied to by doctors right now?
That death does not heal anything.
Why do you think doctors are so intent on death?
At the end of the day, it is money in their pocket. We've been so brainwashed that death isn't a big deal. Abortion's not a big deal. It's just, it is what it is.
Thank you for sharing your story. I hope that it's part of God's plan to bless you with more children.
It's funny to me how liberals can differentiate between